My name is Elias, and I'm 32. I've always been the kind of guy who works hard, keeps his head down, and doesn't make a lot of noise. I'm not flashy. I don't post about my life online, and I don't chase attention. I build things, furniture, websites, relationships. Or at least, I used to think I could build relationships. Then I met Daphne. Daphne was everything I thought I didn't need and convinced myself I couldn't live without. We met at a charity fundraiser her company was sponsoring. She was polished, opinionated, effortlessly confident. She could hold court in any room. I was the quiet guy who fixed their broken mic setup halfway through the speech and didn't expect anyone to notice. She noticed. We had wine. We had laughs. And then we had 3 years together. At first, it was great. She softened around me, I thought. She didn't need to always be on. She could wear sweats and eat instant noodles on the couch, and I got to see a side of her the world didn't. That made me feel like I mattered, like I'd earned a kind of access no one else had. We moved in together after a year. I renovated half the apartment to make space for her art studio, paid off her lingering student loans when her job cut back bonuses. Every time I did something for her, she said thank you, but only after a long pause, like she had to remember she was supposed to. Still, I kept pushing forward, thinking this was just her way. Her parents didn't help. They never liked me. They were old money, the kind of people who made small talk feel like job interviews. They smiled with their mouths and sized me up like I was a coffee table from IKEA. Functional, unremarkable, and temporary. I'll never forget the first dinner I had with them. Daphne's mother tilted her head and said, "So, Elias, what do your parents do?" "Not what I do, what my parents do." I said my mom was a retired school librarian and my dad passed away when I was a teen. Her father nodded like I'd just confirmed a suspicion. That night, Daphne said, "Don't take them too seriously. They just want the best for me." I asked, "And do they think I'm not?" She didn't answer right away, just kissed me and said, "You are to me." That should have been a red flag. But I clung to the hope that love could smooth out the dents. That maybe, with time, I could win them over, not because I needed their approval, but because I wanted Daphne to stop straddling two versions of herself, the one who loved me and the one who wanted to impress them. The proposal wasn't flashy. It was quiet. Just us. On the deck behind my cabin, where we'd once watched a thunderstorm roll in while wrapped in a blanket. I knelt, gave her the ring I'd saved for, and told her I wanted to build the rest of my life with her. She said yes. She cried. I thought that meant something. But something shifted after that. Subtle things at first. She started saying my apartment instead of our place. When wedding planning came up, she'd brush off my suggestions with lines like, "Let's leave the aesthetics to me. You just handle the budget." She wanted a destination wedding in Santorini. Her parents offered to chip in if the guest list was appropriate, which apparently meant no one from my side except my mom. I told her I wasn't comfortable with that. She sighed and said, "Elias, don't make this a class thing." It was a class thing, but I swallowed it. The tension finally broke on a Wednesday night. We'd just gotten back from dinner with her parents, another meal of subtle barbs and paper-thin pleasantries. Her dad had made a toast to ambition and marrying up. Everyone laughed, including Daphne. When we got home, I asked, "Do they really think you're marrying up?" She shrugged, kicked off her heels, and said, "No, they think I'm settling." I didn't say anything. I just stared at her, trying to catch her eyes. And then she rolled hers and added, "Honestly, I do too sometimes." I remember the way the air felt in that moment. Heavy. Still. Like even the walls were holding their breath. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just nodded, walked into the bedroom, opened the drawer where I'd placed the ring box, just in case she wanted to have it resized later, and took it out. She didn't even notice at first. She was scrolling through something on her phone. I held it up. Her eyes flicked to me. "What?" I said calmly, "Give it back." She blinked. "Seriously?" I held her gaze. She hesitated, then slipped it off and handed it to me like it was a ring pop that lost its flavor. I didn't say a word. I walked to the closet, grabbed her suitcase, the one she brought when she first moved in, and started filling it. Methodically. She didn't stop me, just watched. When I wheeled it to the front door, she finally asked, "What are you doing?" I said, "Giving you a chance to find someone who meets your standards." She laughed once, sharp and hollow. "You're overreacting." I opened the door. She stood there for a moment, maybe waiting for me to fold, to second-guess myself like I always did when she withdrew affection. But I didn't move. 10 minutes later, she was standing on the curb with her suitcase, trying to order an Uber on a credit card I had canceled an hour before dinner. That night, I changed every password, froze the joint account, called my lawyer in the morning. I thought that would be the end of it. But a week later, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to see her mother, standing there with mascara-streaked cheeks and a crumpled cardigan, looking like a woman who hadn't slept in days. "She made a mistake," she said. And just as I felt the weight of old doubts trying to creep in, I remembered every quiet moment I'd ignored, every look I let slide, every version of myself I buried to make her feel taller. I smiled, and slowly, without a word, I closed the door. I didn't move for a long time after I shut the door. I just stood there in the hallway, hands still on the knob, heart pounding, not from anger, not even from adrenaline, but from the sheer clarity. Like a fog had finally lifted. No guilt, no second-guessing, just silence and peace. I knew what was going to happen next. Daphne's family wasn't used to hearing no, especially not from someone they considered beneath them. And even though her mom had shown up in tears, that wasn't compassion. It was control. That knock wasn't a plea. It was pressure dressed up in mascara and mom guilt. And I wasn't playing that game anymore. But the real aftermath didn't hit until a few days later. I was in the garage, finally working on a woodworking project I'd shelved for months. Just me, my tools, and the smell of fresh pine. That's when my phone lit up. First came the texts, from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, this is Daphne's friend Camila. She's staying with me. I just thought you should know she's been really depressed. Not eating, not sleeping. She cries all night." Then another. "She regrets what she said. She was under pressure. She didn't mean it." And finally, "You guys were great together. Please don't let her spiral like this." I stared at the messages for a long time, thumb hovering over the screen. But I didn't reply. I didn't block the number either. I just let it sit there, like a voicemail from a life I wasn't returning to. A day later, the calls started. First, unknown numbers. Then her. I never answered. She didn't leave voicemails, just kept calling at odd hours. 1:13 a.m., 4:07 a.m. I watched them come and go. Part of me expected her to show up again, but she didn't. Not yet. Instead, it was her father who reached out next. A cold, clipped email, subject line, request for closure. He wrote like a man used to being listened to. Said I was acting rashly, and that my decision was disrupting family dynamics. He asked for a meeting between men to resolve this like adults, before reputations are unnecessarily harmed. He signed it with his full name, followed by partner, law firm name. I laughed, out loud. I forwarded the email to my lawyer, just to be safe, then deleted it without responding. That same week, the refund requests started rolling in. Her mom tried to get money back from the venue, citing emotional distress. Her father contacted the travel agency to dispute the honeymoon deposit. I got emails from vendors asking if the wedding was officially canceled. I told them yes, and paid the cancellation fees in full from my own account. I didn't want a dime from them. I didn't want anything that had her family's name attached to it. But what really broke the silence was my mom. She called one evening after dinner, voice quiet and unsure, like she was walking on eggshells. "Sweetheart, Daphne's mom came by today." My stomach clenched. "She said you weren't answering. That maybe I could talk to you." She cried, "Elias." In my living room. I didn't say anything. "She said Daphne's having a hard time. That you're throwing everything away over one stupid comment. Is that true?" I took a breath. "Mom, she didn't just say I wasn't enough. She meant it. She let me build a life around her while secretly wishing I was someone else." "I know," she said. "I just thought. Maybe you needed to hear that you're not the problem." That almost broke me, because I had been wondering, not in words, but in flashes. In that old, haunting way where your brain whispers maybe you overreacted, maybe you misread everything, maybe you're being dramatic. That doubt lives in people like me. People who try too hard to make things work. People who believe they can fix others if they just love them hard enough. But hearing my mom say that, it was like someone finally found the right light switch and turned it on. "I know I'm not the problem," I told her. "Not anymore." She didn't say much after that. Just, "I'm proud of you." I slept better that night than I had in years. But of course, peace never lasts long when pride is wounded. Especially hers. The next week, she showed up. "Daphne." Not alone this time. She stood outside my building's security gate with a suitcase in one hand, her mom in the other, and a face that looked nothing like the woman I used to know. Her hair was messy, eyes puffy. The look on her face wasn't anger. It was panic. I watched them through the peephole as they rang the bell, over and over again. Then I heard the gate click, my neighbor letting them in. I didn't open the door. I just watched the security feed from my phone, saw her mom pacing in front of my apartment, glancing at her watch like this was all beneath her. Then I heard the knock. Elias? Please, just let me talk to you. Her voice cracked. Whether from tears or manipulation, I couldn't tell anymore. Her mom stepped in. Elias, you're being cruel. She's your fiancée. You don't throw away 3 years over a moment of frustration. Another knock. Then silence. Then, she's pregnant, her mom said. I froze. I stared at the door. The knock came again. Please, Elias, Daphne whispered. Please just open the door. And that is where everything stopped. For a moment, I genuinely couldn't breathe. Pregnant? The word echoed through my mind like a slow explosion, one that kept rippling through my chest long after it was said. I didn't respond. I didn't move. I just stood there, staring at the door, the memory of her voice still hanging in the air like smoke. Was it true? Was it a trap? Was it both? I didn't know. What I did know was that Daphne had never once brought up wanting kids. Not seriously, anyway. Every time the subject came up, she'd change it. Say we weren't ready, or that we'd travel first, or that she wanted to see where her art career took her. She never said no outright, but she never said yes either. And now she was on my doorstep, suitcase in one hand and pregnancy in the other. I opened the security feed again. Daphne was sitting on the bench outside my apartment door, head down, hands shaking. Her mom stood beside her like a sentry, arms crossed, expression tight and expectant, like she was waiting for a butler to open the gates to a private estate. She didn't look concerned. She looked entitled. I turned off the feed. Then I paced. I paced the hallway, the kitchen, the living room, anywhere I could go to burn off the storm gathering in my chest. I knew if I opened that door, I wasn't just opening it to a conversation. I was opening it to everything I'd spent weeks shutting out: manipulation, doubt, the guilt of walking away from someone who used to call me her safe place. But what if it was true? What if I had a kid out there, growing silently behind that door? What kind of man would I be if I didn't at least ask? I stood in front of the door again, my hand hovering over the knob. Then I walked away. Not because I was running, because I needed clarity. I picked up my phone, opened the security camera footage, hit record, and saved the last 10 minutes to my drive. Then I called my lawyer, told him everything, asked him to set up a formal paternity request, discreetly. No confrontation, no drama, just facts. Because if I was going to step back into this mess, I wanted truth first. And until I got it, I wouldn't let her inside. I waited by the peephole. Daphne was still there, wiping her eyes. Her mom knocked again, more aggressively this time. Elias, this isn't just about you anymore, she snapped. I didn't answer. A moment passed, then another. I watched Daphne finally stand, wobbling a bit like she hadn't eaten all day. Her mom grabbed her by the elbow and started walking her down the hallway. Daphne looked back, just once. She whispered something, but I couldn't hear it. Then they were gone. I waited a full hour before I let myself breathe. I wasn't proud of how hard that moment hit me. I hated that even after all the betrayal, all the dismissiveness, there was still a piece of me that wanted to believe her, that wanted to run after her and say, if this is real, we'll figure it out. But belief without evidence had already cost me too much. 2 days passed, then 3. Radio silence. Then I got the call from her mother. No words, just a voicemail. You'll regret this. She's not your burden anymore. You made your choice. The message ended with a click. No mention of the pregnancy. No request for a meeting. Just a bitter woman leaving a threat disguised as a goodbye. I sent the message to my lawyer, but something about it itched at me. Daphne didn't sound like herself at the door, and her mother? She sounded off, defensive, too rehearsed, like they were playing a role, and the moment the performance didn't go their way, they changed the script. Later that night, I got an anonymous email. No subject, just a screenshot. It was from someone I didn't know, probably one of her friends. The image showed a group text thread with Daphne's name clearly visible, and one line highlighted. If I say I'm pregnant, he won't shut the door again. Watch. I stared at the screen. It took everything in me not to throw my phone against the wall. Instead, I just sat there in the dark, screen glowing in my palm, the weight of 3 years pressing into my chest like a stone. She lied. She lied. And not just to me. She lied about life. About something sacred. About something I never joked about. Something I would have given everything to protect. The ring. The rent. The years. The trust. I could have forgiven so much. But this was war. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, phone on the couch beside me. The glow of that message burned into my mind like a brand. If I say I'm pregnant, he won't shut the door again. I didn't even feel rage at first, just this quiet, stunned ache. The kind that hits when you realize someone you loved not only hurt you, but calculated how to hurt you. Not in the heat of a fight. Not in a moment of weakness. No, planned it. And for what? Control? Ego? Revenge because I walked away? I paced the apartment, trying to figure out when it all started to go sour. But that was the worst part. There wasn't one moment. It was death by 1,000 little jabs. A slow erosion of respect. The offhand comments. The dismissive looks. The times she made me feel like I was lucky to be with her, when in truth, she should have been grateful for a man who would have moved mountains just to see her smile. By sunrise, the ache had hardened into something sharper. Something quieter. Not hatred, but certainty. And certainty, I've learned, is what gets you through a storm. So I called my lawyer again. I need to respond, I said. Not with words. Not with drama. With finality. He didn't ask for details. He knew the type of woman I was dealing with by now. He helped me file for a cease and desist based on harassment, false claims, emotional manipulation. I compiled everything. The footage, the text thread, even the audio of her mother's voicemail. And then I did something I hadn't done since this whole mess began. I wrote an email to Daphne. No anger. No insults. Just cold, clean truth. Daphne, I know about the lie. There will be no second conversation. No emotional blackmail. No slow drip of half-truths and regrets. Asterisk, I loved you. That's real. But what you did, asterisk this, it killed everything. My lawyer has been authorized to communicate on my behalf from this point forward. I've attached a letter confirming termination of our lease, joint accounts, and shared assets. Any items you left behind have been boxed and sent to your mother's address. Tracking number is below. Do not contact me again. Elias. I hit send and sat back. That was the moment it ended for me. Not the breakup. Not the suitcase on the curb. This. The letter. The truth. The boundaries. But, of course, people like Daphne don't respect boundaries. Especially when they lose control of the narrative. It took exactly one day before her friend Camila posted a story on Instagram. A blurry picture of a wine glass and a caption. Crazy how fast love can turn into cruelty. Some men just want control. I didn't respond. Didn't even watch it from my main account. I didn't need to. A few hours later, one of Daphne's old art clients messaged me privately. Hey, saw some weird stuff on her feed. Just want you to know I always thought you were solid. Apparently, Daphne had gone full sympathy tour, posting black and white selfies with cryptic captions, deleting our old photos, sharing vague quotes about healing after narcissistic abuse. The irony made me laugh out loud. A real, bitter laugh. But then came the last twist. She showed up again. Alone this time. I was coming back from a run when I saw her standing by the parking lot of my building. Hoodie pulled low over her eyes. Hands stuffed in her sleeves. The moment she saw me, she didn't speak, just started crying. Real tears this time. Not crocodile ones. The kind that make your chest tighten, even when you know better. I stopped a good 20 feet away. Don't, I said. I'm not here to fight, she said, voice cracked. I'm not even here to ask for anything. Then why? She wiped her face with her sleeve. Because I finally get it. I get why you left. I needed to say that. I nodded once. She stepped forward, cautiously. I lied, she whispered. About being pregnant. I thought if I could just talk to you, if I could get you to see me again, maybe you'd remember what we had. I didn't speak. Elias, I ruined everything, didn't I? Yes, I said. Calm. Clear. She let out a sob, like the final bit of hope had cracked under its own weight. I didn't know how to be with someone like you. You never asked for anything. You just gave. And I took. And then when you stopped, I panicked. I waited a moment, then said, you didn't ruin it because you panicked. You ruined it because when you had the chance to be honest, you chose to manipulate me instead. She flinched. I stepped past her. She didn't try to stop me. But just as I opened the door to the building, she called out one last time. Did you ever actually believe I loved you? I turned. I believed you loved the idea of me, I said. But the real me? The one who didn't fit into your parents' expectations, who made furniture by hand instead of money from mergers. That guy was always disposable to you. You just didn't realize he could walk away. She didn't respond. I went inside. That was the last time I saw her. In the weeks that followed, she faded. No more stories. No more messages. She disappeared from mutual circles and quietly moved out of the city. I don't know where she went. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. But here's what I do know. I learned that silence isn't weakness. It's control. That walking away isn't losing. It's power. That sometimes the most brutal revenge you can take on someone who tried to break you is to thrive without them. Quietly, fully, and permanently. I rebuilt. I took up commissions again. Finished the cedar coffee table I'd been too emotionally drained to finish for months. I donated the wedding suit I never wore. And one night, I deleted every photo of us from my phone. Not out of spite. Out of freedom. Daphne was a chapter. A long one. But not my story. I am the story. And it turns out, that's more than enough. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.